So in the last lecture, we have seen the basic of probability. Okay, what are the types of probability, how to find out the probability. Now, in the today's lecture, we will see in detail what is by the bias. So bias theorem was developed in 70s, okay, by the scientist called Thomas Bayes, and that's why his name is given to the Bayes theorem, because it is invented by the scientist mathematician, that is Thomas Bayes. It can be seen as a way of understanding how the probability that the theory is true is affected by the new piece of evidence. So if you have the evidence, so from this probability you can find out how it will be affected. Okay. The Bayes theorem, as stated here, like this, describes the probability of an event based on the prior knowledge of conditions that might be related to the event. So here, this Bayes theorem is also called the Bayes law or Bayes rule, and it states that it is a probability of an event. The probability of an event based on the prior knowledge of the condition. So whatever the probability expected, it is based on its previous knowledge. Okay. So this is an probability Bayes theorem. It is based on the probability. Now, what is the conditional probability? The first type of probability is the conditional probability. So before we start the execution of Bayes theorem, let me explain you some basics of probability, and from that we can create a formula of our Bayes theorem. So first important part in Bayes theorem is the conditional probability. So what do you mean by the conditional? So here from this diagram you can see that the rectangle space is a sample space. Okay. It is a collection of possible outcomes, and A and B are the events, they are overlapping. Okay. So actually here not a red color, it is a gray color rectangle. Let me change this. Okay. So this is a gray color rectangle space is a sample space. So this rectangle of gray color indicate the sample space, and there are the two events of event A and the event B, and some of the part of event A and the event B are overlapping. Okay, so from this diagram you can see clearly that there are the two events, event A and the event B, but some of the part of event A and the event B are overlapped, and they are situated in one of the sample space, and indicating that sample space as a gray rectangle. The portion common to A and B is A intersection of B. Okay. So how we can be indicating this common space? This common space is indicating by the intersection. Okay. So how it is read? A intersection of B. It means that from the event A and from event B, there is some part which is common in both. For example, A and the B. Okay. Now take one example from this. We can get more idea about. Now let us consider this is a map of India. Okay, and there are the two states. State A is a Maharashtra and state B is a Madhya Pradesh. So A is indicating the Maharashtra state and B is indicating the Madhya Pradesh state, and they are situated in a gray rectangle. That's a gray rectangle means India. Okay. Now from Maharashtra and from the Madhya Pradesh, there is some space which is common in between the Maharashtra state and the Madhya Pradesh state. So that common space, you can be say that it is a Pench Prakalp, that is a common for the Maharashtra as well as the Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so when you see in Google Map also, the Pench Prakalp or the Pench Tiger Reserve Center, it is a common space. It is commonly occupied by the Maharashtra state as well as the state of the Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so that is called the intersection. So this portion is called the point of intersection, where the two events, for example A and the B, having the some common part. That is called the intersection of it. Now, how we can represent this conditional probability? The probability of A given B, it means that the probability of B or event B is already happened. Now you want to find out the probability of event A is equal to probability of A intersection of B divided by the probability of B. Okay. So here this equation implies that probability of A vertical line B is equal to probability of A intersection of B divided by the probability of B. What is the probability of occurrence of A where B is already occurred? How we can read it out? Okay. So this equation you can read out like this. What is the probability of occurrence of A where B is already occurred? So if the B event is already occurred, now what is the probability that A will be the occurrence of A? So in the last lecture we have already seen that let us consider the probability of A is a match between the India and Australia, and event B or the B event is the rain condition. Okay. So now let us consider that on 17th March there will be a match in between the India versus Australia. So this is the event A. So event A indicating that there is a cricket match between the India versus Australia on 17th March. This is my event A. Now what is my event B? My event B is indicating that as per the weather condition on 17th there will be a rain. Okay. Now let us consider on 17th March morning, the rain is over, the rain is occurred, the rain condition is already done. So what is the probability that there will be a match between the India and Australia? So if you want to find out this probability, so you can use this formula, probability of A vertical line B is equal to probability of A intersection of B divided by probability of B. Okay, so this is a conditional probability. Here we assume that an entire sample phase has shrunk to the event B and which is already occurred. So from diagram you can see that an entire sample phase, so whole entire sample phase is now has been shrunk to the event B and that is already occurred. Whereas in equation below equation, that is the probability of B of A, here you can say that the probability of B occurrence given that A is already occurred assume that the sample space is shrunk to the event P, event A. So you have to consider only the event A here for the second formula, and for the first formula you can consider only the event B, because we assume that an entire sample space has shrunk to the event B. Okay, so this is the conditional probability. Now from the equation number 1 and the equation number 2, if we solve this equation number 1 and the equation number 2, this probability of A intersection of B divided by P of B and the probability of intersection of B probability of A intersection of B is the common. So we can take this common, probability of A intersection B as the common. Then P probability of A vertical line B multiplied by probability of B equal to probability of B vertical line A into probability of A. This is my equation number 1. Okay, so what I am doing here, I am keeping this probability of A intersection of B is a common, because on the right hand side you can see that probability of A intersection of B is a common, and now I multiply this probability of B to the probability of A vertical line B, and probability of A multiply to this probability of B vertical line A, and I mark this equation as equation number 1. Okay. Now in the next step, what we are doing? So probability of A intersection of B we have to remove because it is a common. Okay. And only probability of A intersection of B is equal to probability of B vertical line A into probability of A divided by probability of B. And this is called as a Bayes theorem also. Okay, and this is a Bayes theorem. So from equation 1 and equation 2, we can say that probability of A vertical line B is equal to probability of B vertical line A into probability of A divided by probability of B. To understand in detail about this example, let us consider the 3 events. So from this diagram you can see that there are the 3 events, A1, A2 and A3. And they are mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. So what do you mean by the mutually exclusive? The mutual exclusive means occurrence of an event neglects the possibility of other events. What is the mutual exclusive? Whose mic is on? Hello? See, there are the 2 new terminology we have to introduce here, that is a mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. Okay, so before we implementing these 2 conditions, first understand what is by the mutual exclusive and the collectively exhaustive. For that, let us consider there are the 3 events. You can consider these events as your. So 3 events I am indicating here like A1, A2 and A3. And this red rectangle indicating the sample space. So this is a sample space where these three events will be occur, that is A1, A2 and A3. And these three events are mutually exclusive and they are collectively exclusive. So what do you mean by the mutual exclusive? The mutual exclusive means occurrence of an event neglects the possibility of other events. So let us consider the event A1 is occur, it neglects the possibility of event A and the A2 and the A. We are not considering the event A1, A2 and the A3 when you say that event A1 is occurred. We are neglecting the other event. We are not considering the other event A2 and A3 when you say that event A1 will be occurred. What is the example? So when you toss a coin, you either get a head or not get a head and tail at the same time. Okay, so you have to neglect it. You cannot concentrate on can it possible to get the answer like head and tail at the same time when you toss the coin? No. Because when you toss a coin, either you can get a head or a tail. Okay, so you are not concentrate on is it possible to get a head and tail at the same time? No. So this condition is called as a mutual exclusive. And what is the collectively exhaustive? The collectively exhaustive means when a rolling a six-side die, the outcomes will be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are collectively exhaustive because they encompass the entire range of possible outcomes. Okay, so this is a range because you are using the six-side die. So outcome will be the 1, it may be a 2, it may be a 3, it may be a 4, it may be 5, it may be a 6. Why? Because it is the entire range of possible outcomes. Out of that you cannot get a 7, you cannot get the 8, you cannot get the 9. When you roll the single six-side die. Okay, so this is called the collectively exhaustive. Now let us consider event B is occurred. Okay, so in this sample space, rectangular sample space, there are already the three events A1, A2 and A3. Now at the time T, a new event is occurred and indicating that event is a B event. And this is has some common, it has some common collaboration with A1, A2 and A3. So how we can represent it? So event A1, A2 and A3, these are the three events, and event B is occurred at the time T, and event B has some common event, common space in event A1, A2 and A3. So how we can indicate it? A1 intersection of B, because this portion is a common for event B. A2 intersection of B, because this space is a common for the A2 event and the B event, and the A3 intersection of B, this is an event common space between the event A3 and the B. And how we can write down this? So probability of event B is equal to probability of A1 intersection of B plus probability of A2 intersection of B plus probability of A3 intersection of B. Okay, so this is the probability of occurrence of event B. So from the equation number 1, so if you note down the equation number 1, so you can write down the probability of A1 intersection of B like this. Probability of B vertical line A1 into probability of A1 plus probability of B vertical line A2 into probability of A2 plus probability of B vertical line A3 into probability of A3. So from the equation 1, I can write down this probability A1 intersection of B like this, probability A2 intersection of B like this, and probability of A3 intersection of B like this. And it generalized, you can say that when you make this equation as a generalized equation, so probability of B is equal to summation of I equal to 1 to n probability of B vertical line AI multiplied by probability of AI. This is a generalized equation for the probability of B. So now we have the two equations. Equation 1, that is the probability of AI vertical line A equal to probability of B vertical line AI into probability of AI divided by probability of B, and the probability of B is equal to summation of I equal to 1 to n probability of B vertical line AI into probability of AI. Now putting all these two equations together, so we will get an equation that probability of AI vertical line B is equal to, replace this P of B in equation 2 by summation of P probability of B vertical line AI into probability of P AI. Okay, so in the equation 2 you can see that in the probability of B, you can replace this probability of B is equal to summation of probability of B vertical line AI into probability of AI. Okay, so this is a common equation you can get now for the probability of AI vertical line B equal to probability of B vertical line AI multiplied by probability of AI divided by summation of I equal to 1 to n probability of B vertical line AI into probability of AI. So this is then one example. Through this example, we can now find out the probability. Okay. So let's first understand the example, then we will move to the execution of this example. In order to manage the credit risk, a bank regularly rates each of its borrowers as a A1, A2 and A3 based on their credit history. So let us consider there is a one bank, and that bank has a one policy that based on your borrower's history, they categorize you in a three level, A1, A2 and A3. So what do you mean by the A1? The A1 implies the lowest risk, while A3 implies the highest. It means that if you are in a group A1, so this customer having the low risk, you can easily give the credit card to the people those are in it. Right? So those customers are in the group A1, as per the bank, you can easily give them a credit card because they are in the lowest risk category. While the customers, those are in A3 group, they implies that they are the highest risk. Means before you are issuing the credit card to these people or these customers, you have to think twice, because providing them a credit card, it is very risky. Okay. Now what is by the risk? The risk means the chance that borrower might fail to pay the loan amount. Okay. So before issuing a credit card, every bank has first checked the customer's previous balance, okay, his current balance, and according to that he will give the credit card to them. So the bank, XYZ Bank, has categorized his customer into the three categories: A1, A2, and A3. A1 is implies that the customer, you can easily give them as a credit card because they are belonging to the lowest risk customer, while A3 implies the highest risk. Now, based on the historical data, on an average, 30% customer are rated A1. So, the bank manager make one survey, or he take out all the records of his customer, and he find out that the 30% of customer are rated A1, 60% are rated A2, and 10% are rated A3. Okay. Because from the last 6 months or 1 year transaction, from his transaction, he find out that the 30% are rated A1, 60% are rated A2, and the 10% only are rated in A3. So 10% are rated in A3. It means that they are the person they are in the risk. Okay. So before we issuing the credit card to 10% of customer, you have to think twice, because there are very less probability that the borrower might pay back the loan amount. Okay. And it was found that 1% of customers who were rated A1, 10% of the customers who were rated A2, and 18% of customers who were rated A3 eventually become defaulters. Okay. Very interesting example. Huh? Understand this example very carefully. It is very interesting, and it is a real life example. So out of this 10%, what 10%? Sorry, 30%. The 30% are rated A1, that is they are very good customer. But out of them also 1% customer are failed to pay back the amount. 10% of customer who are rated A2 means out of 60%, 10% customer they are failed to pay the loan amount, while 18% of customer who are rated A3, that is the 10%, are failed to pay the amount back. Okay, so this is an strategy. This is an observation by the bank manager. Now, if you randomly pick up a customer from the defaulter pool, what is the probability that he had received an A1 rating? So very interesting and real life example it is. Okay. The question is, when you randomly pick up a customer from the defaulter pools, what is the probability that he had received an A1 rating? Okay. The question is, if you randomly pick up a customer from the defaulter pool. So what is our defaulter pool now? So our defaulter pool, you can see that this is our defaulter pool. Okay. So this is our defaulter pool. 5 plus 95, 100, total 128. That 128 person are the, or customer are the belonging to the defaulter group. Okay. So these 128 are the defaulters in our bank out of 1575 customers. And the question is that, what is the probability that he had received an A1 rating? So when you pick up any person from the 128, so what is the probability that he is belonging to the A1 rating? So this is a question you have to solve using the bias test.